Okay. Welcome everybody to Wellness Wednesday. I'm your host, Andrea K. Paget, and today we're going to be talking about adrenal fatigue. This is a wellness call that I run the second and fourth Wednesday of every month, and it's really about empowerment and using the Healy and empowerment in your life and in your health and wellness in general. Which is very much aligned with Healy's mission and vision, which is really about creating revolutionary products to empower ourselves, to be able to live fulfilled and healthy, conscious lives, and to be able to inspire our growing community as well. So 2 weeks ago, I apologize. I have a lingering dry cough, but I'm going to just get through it. The call 2 weeks ago was on anxiety. And this is a nice follow-up today as well. We were going to be talking about adrenal fatigue, nervous system support, lifestyle and naturopathic ways to support ourselves, as well as the frequency protocols or programs that we can use to help support our adrenal glands. So what is adrenal fatigue? It's actually not currently accepted as a medical diagnosis, although I think in some form or another, many people have some version of adrenal fatigue. Some people know this is adrenal burnout, although there is, I would say, a spectrum of this in terms of adrenal health. And adrenal burnout is really when people are having a lot of symptoms. The term itself, adrenal fatigue, was first proposed in 1998 by Dr. James L. Wilson. He's actually who I did my training with to learn about this as well. And he considers adrenal fatigue, or he defines it as an overstimulation of the adrenal glands by chronic stress, chronic long-term stress, and which leads to inconsistent levels of cortisol in our bloodstream. So really, it is a persistent suboptimal functioning of the adrenal glands, especially when we're under stress. And it's my belief why it's not currently a medical diagnosis is that it's quite insidious in that it fluctuates between high cortisol levels and low cortisol levels. And so it's really hard to diagnose because of these fluctuating cortisol levels within a person's system. And so it can be hard to track, and it can be hard to diagnose. So just a bit about the adrenal glands. We're going to do some very brief biology. But basically, your adrenal glands are two thumb-sized organs. They sit on top of the kidneys. They are considered to be part of our endocrine system, and they are involved in producing more than 50 hormones in our body. They are involved in almost every bodily function that happens in our body on some level based on the hormones that is being produced within the adrenal glands. And many of these processes are essential for our health and for our life. Yes, there are two of them, Chad, one on each kidney.
I did not know that.
Okay. So the kidneys are actually part of what we call the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the adrenal glands all work together, and they're in a feedback loop, which I'll talk about in a minute here. But they're all working together to regulate a lot of functions in the body, primarily the stress response, but it also impacts our mood. It impacts our digestion, our metabolism, our immune system. It controls our blood pressure. It's involved with sexual development and sexual function, as well as contributing to our energy levels. So the HPA axis, as I mentioned, maintains proper cortisol in circulation. Sorry, I have to dual let people in while also doing my presentation. So it maintains a proper amount of cortisol in circulation in the body, and what this does is it preserves homeostasis within our body according to our body's needs. And it's based on the stress and physiological needs that are happening. And so it's a constant feedback loop. The hypothalamus releases hormones that affect the pituitary gland. The pituitary releases hormones that affect the adrenal glands, which releases cortisol, but as well as I mentioned, 50 other different hormones. And they're all working. So there's this loop. They call it a negative feedback loop, but it's of these messenger hormones. And it actually happens every 3 to 6 seconds. I didn't know that prior to preparing for this, but it's in this constant loop of feeding each other and adjusting cortisol levels within the body based on the information that is coming into primarily our nervous system. And so the HPA axis controls the circulating cortisol in a relatively narrow range. And cortisol, as I mentioned, plays a really crucial role in maintaining our health, and it's an essential hormone that affects almost every organ and tissue within our body. So this is super, super important to have healthy cortisol levels, support our adrenal glands. So I'm really excited to talk about this. I think because it's not a medical diagnosis, it's not often talked about in mainstream medicine. But basically the HPA axis works with really great efficiency as long as we're not overly stressed. So as long as these stresses aren't lasting too long, they aren't too numerous, and they aren't too severe. However, in our current modern industrial society, often our stresses are prolonged, often they're abundant, they're multiple, and they're intense. And so it's just like layer upon layer of different stresses that are coming into our body, whether those are physical, mental, emotional, and energetic, EMFs. There's a plethora of ways that all of these things interplay to affect our health and our well-being. And if our adrenal glands are not able to keep up with these constant demands, then we start to have adrenal fatigue and symptoms appear. So the signs and symptoms are many, and they often go in concert with a lot of the talks that I give. A lot of the symptoms are similar, and so I will talk about this a little bit later in the presentation. But some common signs and symptoms are chronic fatigue, so feeling tired all of the time. A classic sign of chronic fatigue or adrenal fatigue rather versus something else is that quite often you'll have fatigue in the morning. So in other pathologies or other presentations, we might have that slump after lunch or in the afternoon, or we feel wired but tired. There's a lot of different presentations, but quite often the classic sign of adrenal fatigue is waking up feeling not rested and then feeling tired straight away, and regardless of what you're doing. Some other signs and symptoms include brain fog, sleep disturbances, moodiness, irritability. Again, because the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland are involved in this, they're all interplaying together. A lot of the signs are coming from or manifesting in our mind and in our nervous system or in our brain. We can have depression and anxiety, muscle and bone loss. Hair loss is a classic sign and symptom for me. When my clients tell me that they have hair loss, then we're definitely working on supporting the adrenal glands because it's a classic symptom. Quite often, other autoimmune conditions start to show up. We have skin ailments, hormonal imbalances, because the adrenal glands are producing 50 plus hormones. Quite often hormonal imbalances is part of the cascade. So our adrenals become fatigued, and then a lot of other systems start to get out of balance. And so we're going to talk about today how to bring those back into balance. Another common one is a weakened stress response, because if we're in a constant state of stress, then our body is constantly producing cortisol, and it's feeding back into that loop with the pituitary and the hypothalamus, and then it basically becomes desensitized, and then they start to release less of the cortisol, even though our body needs more because we're having stress. That kind of feedback loop becomes imbalanced, and as a result, we can have lowered immune system or lowered immunity. So the potential causes are many, as you can see by this infographic on the side. But basically, it's the classic sign or classic cause is prolonged stress. And Dr. Wilson said that quite often the adrenal fatigue can usually be traced back or often begins after a stressful event. So this can be a death of a loved one or a pet, a loss of a job, financial stress, ending of a relationship. There's many different ways that can be considered, but it's a stressful event that begins this cascade. Some other potential causes are general lifestyle, like inadequate nutrition or poor diet, gut imbalances and food sensitivities. Again, because our immune system and our digestive system is so intricately connected, it causes this weak immune system, and then it creates digestive imbalances, and then we can become more sensitive to foods or chemicals. I see chemical sensitivities a lot as well. Lack of sleep, poor sleep habits. So chronic lack of sleep definitely weakens our immune system, our adrenal glands, well, both of them. And what happens is because our lack of sleep the cortisol and melatonin, they work in concert. So when our cortisol is high, our melatonin is low. And then when our melatonin is higher, our cortisol is low. That is a normal pattern that we would like to see in somebody that is in a, say, balanced health state. And quite often, if somebody has a lack of sleep, their melatonin and the cortisol, they become flipped. So in the evening, someone's cortisol might be high, and that impacts. So then we don't have the melatonin release. So therefore, they're not able to fall asleep or feel that sleepiness to help kind of initiate the sleep patterns. And so resetting that circadian rhythm and getting those balanced between the cortisol and melatonin is really helpful. Chronic pain and inflammation, this is a huge one that contributes to, and chronic pain and inflammation would fall into that chronic stress as well on the body and can impair our adrenal glands. Because cortisol is also involved with balancing blood sugar levels, we often see impaired glucose levels and diabetes, especially if it's longer term. And then also some potential causes are over-reliance on stimulants. So if you're feeling tired or you're feeling burned out, we often tend to reach for caffeine or energy drinks or sugar to kind of give us that energy to wake us up. But in fact, it just ends up creating more stress on our adrenal glands. Similarly with alcohol or pharmaceutical products, over-reliance on pharmaceuticals. And then finally, negative thinking and emotional trauma. So this is one that I talk about a lot as well, is that our thinking brain affects our stress levels, affects our hormones, it affects our energy levels. And similar with emotional trauma, we can store that in different tissues and organ systems, and over the long term can really weaken all of our organ systems. So this is a really important one, adrenal fatigue. So some of the main supports are stress management and good boundary building. This is one that's not talked about a lot, but quite often I see this in my clients a lot, is that when they have adrenal fatigue, they tend to be people pleasers and don't necessarily have healthy boundaries. And so this can be a really important part of the process in terms of supporting our overall health and well-being, but also our adrenal glands. Reducing physical, mental, and emotional stressors as best as we can. So being able to identify what those are and then removing them from our life or mitigating them within our life is really kind of getting to the root cause, right? And we want to get to the root cause. We don't just want to find the Band-Aid of how to boost our adrenal glands. It really is a holistic way of how do we support ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally to have more energy, be in a more of adrenal balance situation. Nutrition, herbs, and supplementation. I'm going to go into this after and have lots of food recommendations and supplementation. There are so many wonderful herbs to support our adrenal glands and stress in general. Eliminating toxins, doing a comprehensive detox is really a nice reset for all of the body systems. And then supporting adrenal fatigue, especially because stress is so intricately connected with adrenal fatigue. Having mindfulness practices, meditation, moving our body daily, gently, and then really optimizing our sleep is an important one. And then addressing any kind of negative thinking that we're having and seeking support where you feel it's necessary. And then of course, frequencies. So there are so many, but I tried to select the ones that are most important for adrenal health specifically. So anybody that knows me knows the Gold Cycle are my favorite. These are our foundational frequencies. Healy always recommends starting with the Gold Cycle, and I like to say continue on with them as we work through. I know that there are a lot of programs to choose from, but I always recommend, and I personally use Gold Cycle, I would say most days, at least one. These are our detox programs. They're restoring our cellular health. So really all of the Gold Cycle ones are really great for adrenal glands. Pure is helping us if we do feel like maybe the adrenal fatigue is being caused by toxins or environment or unhealthy diet. Pure is a really great one to support that. Care is great for our immune system. Balance is bioenergetically balancing the body's energy field. Being is emotional balance. So I would say if you have a lot of stress and you feel that the adrenal fatigue might be because of prolonged chronic stress, Being relax and release. These ones are really great for activating the parasympathetic state to move us into a calmer state and really support our nervous system. The nervous system and the adrenal glands and the kidneys is I'll talk about some of the frequencies as well. These all are working together. And so we really want to work with all of the programs that we have to support our adrenal glands. So in terms of adrenal health, supporting the HPA access, and then also nervous system support, the job and the sleep programs, I mean, all of these as well. Same as the gold cycle, all of these are really amazing. The exhaustion, systemic, the extreme stress, exhaustion, acute, and fatigue, these ones are all really supporting the adrenal glands. As you see with exhaustion, systemic in particular, is bioenergetic balancing of the adrenal hormones. And then the positive thoughts, balanced nerves, activation, these ones are all working on a more of a mental level. And then I have a separate one for the sleep ones. So these sleep programs are really great for circadian rhythm support. So as I was talking about earlier about finding that balance between the cortisol and the melatonin, these ones are amazing. So Doc Steve talks about the bed rest in particular for really promoting parasympathetic states and restoring that. So that one is really great. You can put the sticky pads on your vagus nerve. You can just place it on the mastoid bone right behind the ears. And this one is great. He says it should be named something different. He was just talking about that on WhatsApp Wednesday earlier today. But this one is really amazing for supporting our vagus nerve and our adrenal glands. And really, if you're having any kind of sleep issues, then running these ones in the evening to really support that healthy melatonin release and rebalancing of the cortisol. Of course, mental and emotional well-being, because adrenal fatigue is so connected to stress and prolonged stress in general. Having these programs, these have become some of my favorite. I didn't use these. I talk about this a lot as well, that I didn't use these a lot at the beginning, and now I love the mental balance programs. They're great for balancing out any kind of mental or emotional imbalance that you feel like you have, and really providing that that state of emotional well-being. So this is one that I recommend to my clients quite a bit. Pain and psyche, these ones are great for addressing any acute or chronic symptoms, especially if somebody has pain, has inflammation, is feeling imbalanced. In particular, for adrenal support, if it's manifesting more through depression and anxiety, then number 7 and 8, which are great for depression and anxiety. Oh, Eva has her hand up. Eva, did you have a question?
No, it's fine. I don't know how that happened. Sorry.
Okay. I was like, maybe I'm talking too fast and she's going to remind me.
Oh, that would be a good one. Yes.
Okay, so frequencies for adrenals in bioenergetic harmony 1, we have nerves. So always thinking about supporting our nervous system is great if somebody is having high stress. This is always my go-to, any kind of nerve-related programs to support that nervous system regulation. Circulatory system, which is stimulating the body's energy supply. So really, I guess it depends on how symptoms are showing up for someone with adrenal fatigue and selecting the programs that feel like they resonate to support that particular manifestation that they're having. So I'm just making suggestions in terms of in general. Eva, your hand is up again, so you can just talk.
I'm trying to delete it. I don't know how.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're fine. So in terms of meridians 2, I have the kidney here. So the kidneys are actually, because the adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys, they have nerve and blood supply that connect the two. So they're very interdependent. They're interconnected. So whenever we support our kidneys, we're also supporting our adrenal glands. And if you're having any fatigue or energy imbalances, or you feel low energy, running frequencies that support the kidneys. Our kidneys are like our battery, they're our life force energy. So anytime you're supporting the kidney, you're also supporting the adrenal glands. Also within meridians, we have the nerve meridian and then hormonal system. So definitely if the adrenal fatigue has been persistent and it's starting to create some hormonal imbalances, then running frequencies that bring the hormonal system back. So in homeopathic philosophy, they say, you work backwards. So the last thing that manifests, you start there and you sort of work your way back. So if you're having hormonal imbalance symptoms, you know, that might be a nice place to start. And then as you rebalance your hormones, then your adrenal glands, it gives them an opportunity to come back into balance as well.
Mm.
And then we have digital nutrition. There are so many to choose from in here, but again, I'm just really focusing on adrenal fatigue specifically. So in digital nutrition mixture 1, we have nerves and kidney. In number 2, vitamin B complex. So quite often in adrenal fatigue, our B vitamins are low. And also that if you're having energy levels or energy imbalances, then quite often the vitamin B complex or vitamin B in our body is low. And so by running these frequencies, we can help increase the energy and increase the production of vitamin B within our bodies. Similarly, the hypovitaminosis, and then age, which has a lot of the B vitamins, a lot of the vitamins and minerals that we need to support health and well-being. In number 3, we have hormonal system, toxins, and antioxidants. So these ones are really great. In number 4, we have fatigue and psyche. So any of the ones that are focused on exhaustion or fatigue and they have that name in it, automatically I associate that with supporting the adrenal fatigue or supporting the nervous system, and rest and recreation as well. So basically I selected programs that have B vitamins, vitamin C, selenium. There is a lot of research to support that people that have adrenal fatigue also have a selenium deficiency. So supplementing with that, or else you can eat Brazil nuts. 1 Brazil nut a day gives you all of the selenium that you need. Magnesium is another great one, and then melatonin. So quite often if we're low in melatonin, we tend to be high in cortisol. And so if we can supplement or run frequencies for melatonin, then it can bring the cortisol and the melatonin back into balance. And then fatty acids. So anything that has any of the programs that have the EPAs, which is the fatty acids, again, because cortisol is created from cholesterol. So it's made from cholesterol, which is a fat. And we need cholesterol in our diet to be able to produce a lot of these hormones. And all of our cells are lined in fat. So good quality, healthy fats are really, really important for our overall health and well-being. They're important for our nervous system, and they're important for our adrenals, which are producing the cortisol coming from cholesterol. So my naturopathic approach to adrenal glands is threefold. Basically, we want to adjust our lifestyle to address any imbalances. So I see this as decreasing the stressors. What are the things that are contributing to, what are the stressors that you have in your life that might be contributing to this physical manifestation, and then trying to mitigate those or eliminate them as best you can. And then nutritionally supporting adrenal function. I'm a big fan of food as medicine, same as herbs, and really helping support our adrenal glands and all of our organ systems through our food and our medicines, natural medicines. And then also the third is really incorporating relaxation techniques or activities or therapies to really help balance our nervous system. So in terms of lifestyle practices, as I said, reducing stress in every possible way. So really locating what I call energy robbers. So what are the things that are taking our energy, that are depleting our energy, that are leading us to places where I think we've all had these experiences where we feel energetic and then we have an experience and then we are drained of our energy. And so identifying what these energy robbers are, and then eliminating them from our life as best we can. Establishing a nightly routine. Sleep is so important for helping our adrenal glands come back into balance. So ideally getting to bed before 10. I like to suggest 9 to 9:30 because I feel like then people might be in bed by 10 o'clock, but definitely by 10 at the latest, and getting a solid 8 hours or more. And even sleeping in on the weekends. Sleep is like really the best way to rebalance our adrenal glands. It's not talked about a lot in mainstream medicine. And it's easy. I mean, maybe if you're having sleep issues, run the sleep frequencies and establish a nightly routine, which can look like, how I counsel my clients in terms of a sleep routine is definitely off screens an hour before bed, because it blocks melatonin release by up to 3 hours by having screens. And establishing like dimming the lights, having, a gentle yoga practice or doing some meditation or even just listening to music. If you have a bathtub, taking a bath in the evening. So anything that's going to start to bring our energy down more into a grounded parasympathetic state, preparing us for sleep. It's just like a baby. We have these nightly routines because then they start to understand that, okay, it's time for bed soon. We still have that as adults. Somehow we seem to lose that, but it's really important. And then upon waking, before getting out of bed, to just lay there and think about something. When I say think about something pleasant, or practicing gratitude. So, thinking of 3 to 5 things that we're really, really grateful for, and starting our day from that space can be really great for our nervous system and for overall mental well-being. Gentle movement, exercise daily. So high intensity exercise, not recommended if you feel that you might be in a state of adrenal fatigue, but definitely gentle movement like walking or yoga, qigong, tai chi, just even getting out in nature, and grounding is another great one if it's not too cold and there's not snow where you are right now. And then obviously mindfulness practices. So there's a lot here: breath work, meditation, relaxation exercises. So just really finding something that works for you. I had a client yesterday and she's like, I just keep trying to meditate and I can't do it. I can't sit still. And I said, well, what about a moving meditation? What about going in your backyard and just kind of walking around? And she was like, oh, I can do that. She's like, I didn't think about that. But it's just simple things of finding ways that bring relaxation into your life, however that is for you, right? If we try to force something that doesn't feel good for us, we're not likely to implement it and have it as a lifestyle practice. So really, I always encourage, exploring different things. And for me, I love binaural beats. I love to lay down and put on some binaural beats or some sound bowls and just kind of move my body into a relaxation state. That's what works for me. Daily self-care. So this is so important for adrenal fatigue. And I see this a lot in moms because they're taking care, they're carrying so much, or people that work a lot, their self-care can be challenged in terms of finding that time. So really making an effort to carve out that time in a day to look after yourself, even if it's just for 10, 20 minutes. Laughter is another great one. It releases so many positive endorphins in our body, which helps reduce cortisol. And then just really seeking out positive connections with others or experiences and things that will really bring more positivity into our life. So sometimes turning off the news. As I was saying before I hit record on this, that I think many people are in some form of adrenal fatigue after the last 3 years and all the bombardment that we've been through, that just really unplugging from that and finding ways to support ourselves and support our adrenal glands in a healthier, more positive way. And then our mindset, which can be tricky for a lot of people. It's easy to say avoid negative self-talk, but it's really bringing more awareness and just being mindful about the dialogue or the monologue, I guess, that we were having in our own mind, the words that we're speaking, the way that we're feeling, the people that are around us, and just becoming more aware of that energy that we're putting out, but that also is coming in our direction. And then when we find ourselves, just catching ourselves. So it's not so much about don't think negatively, but just being mindful of how we are thinking and speaking. And as we have more awareness around it, it's easier to bring in those reframe techniques. So nutrition for adrenals. Basically, I gave some overviews of ways to support our adrenal glands. So obviously eating whole, clean, natural foods as close to its natural state as possible. And with every meal, trying to find a good quality protein, an unrefined carbohydrate, so like a complex carb, and then fat, good healthy fat with every meal. So finding that balance between all those three at every single meal can be really helpful for the adrenals. It prevents that blood sugar fluctuation. A lot of people as well, Dr. James Wilson, he recommends no fruit in the morning quite often because the classic sign of adrenal fatigue is morning fatigue, that quite often the fruits can spike our blood sugar and then we have this crash, which just makes us feel worse. So not having fruits in the morning. I like to have fruits on an empty stomach, but I recommend that maybe people do that later in the afternoon if they tolerate it. So seeing how you feel, but having the fruits away from the other meals. So having a good quality breakfast with a protein and a complex carbohydrate and some fat. So having a balanced meal, again, ideally in the morning to give us the energy, and then having a good lunch as well. So having regular meals and snacks is ideal for in a situation like adrenal fatigue, because we want to balance out our blood sugar levels and balance out the cortisol. Eating 5 to 6 servings of vegetables, especially green leafy vegetables, which can be really, really good for us. And then chewing our food at least 30 times. And what this really does is it allows for proper digestion of all of our foods, because our digestion starts in our mouth with our digestive enzymes. It also brings more mindfulness and awareness to the food that we're eating. It allows us to slow down, and really connecting with that food as medicine can be a really nice way to support our adrenal glands. Again, avoiding or reducing caffeine, sugary beverages, energy drinks or soft drinks, really not indicated for adrenal fatigue. And then avoiding any sugar, or limiting rather sugar and processed foods, or finding like alternatives to those. So if you use, brown or white sugar, switching maybe to an organic honey, or just a little bit of maple syrup if that's tolerated. So then I also have some foods to avoid, and then foods to add in that really good for adrenal glands. So there are so many amazing herbs and supplements to support our adrenals. Adaptogens are really the best, the most well-researched in terms of supporting adrenal health. So there are many adaptogens. I'm not saying take all of these, but definitely trying. Ashwagandha is my favorite. And I like to combine it with holy basil, also known as tulsi in Ayurvedic. And the tulsi is really anti-stress. And it really balances our stress hormones. So the tulsi is amazing for adrenals. Medicinal mushrooms as well. I didn't put that on here, but those are great as well. They're adaptogenic. If you're having sleep issues, a magnesium citrate at bedtime, or even if you have a progesterone cream, you can put it on the inside of your wrists at bedtime, which can help with hormonal balancing. A vitamin B complex, vitamin C, which is great for immune system, vitamin D as well, which is so important for hormone production. And as I mentioned, selenium. So either finding a food source for selenium, vibrating frequencies that have the selenium in it. As I mentioned, oil, so a high quality oil. If you don't do fish, then you can find like a hemp oil, or there's other non-animal based oils that are really supportive for the system. And then some essential oils my favorites are lavender and rosemary, but there are a lot that really are good for supporting nervous system and adrenal gland. So just some final words on adrenal fatigue. It takes time to heal. So if you feel that you have any form of adrenal fatigue, that a mild version might take 6 to 9 months with treatment, which I see treatment as food and supplements and frequencies. For me, that feels like a good treatment protocol for people. A more moderate or severe can take longer and might require a little bit more supplementation. So if you have questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me. But it does take time. I was actually, a naturopath diagnosed me with adrenal fatigue probably about 5 years ago now. And it was pretty extreme. I also had parasites, and the parasites ate all my B vitamins, my testosterone, and my DHEA levels, which is quite often with adrenal fatigue, were almost at 0. And so it was like a cascade of different things. And it took me probably closer, fell more into the severe range, and it took me a while to recover from that. So if you are following adrenal fatigue protocol, you're doing some of these things that I recommend, and you don't see any improvement within, 8 to, I would say, almost even 12 weeks, then you want to look for another body burden. So do you have any dental health issues or tooth problem, a low-grade infection that's happening? Could be a low thyroid or any kind of gut dysbiosis. Then the adrenals might not have enough energy to really start to bring itself back into balance. And so addressing those body burdens first, and then supporting the adrenal glands. Usually there's something else that's going on that's just creating more stress in our body, and it makes it more difficult for our adrenals to come back into balance. So in that instance, then a detoxification would be recommended. So really doing a full clear of all the toxins from our system to really rebalance all of our organs. And usually through that, then the adrenals can come back online. So really the road to recovery, I see it as body, mind, and environment. So making these positive lifestyle changes, using our food as medicine and taking the supplements to support it, and then working on the mental aspect of really assessing our attitudes and our belief systems and seeing how our mental health is contributing to our physical health as well. So Dr. Wilson had this quote. I'm just going to finish off with this. So the particular kind of rest you need when you have adrenal fatigue comes not so much from lying down, but from standing up for yourself and from removing or minimizing the harmful stresses in your life. So really identifying those energy robbers, as I said, and looking to remove them from your life can help with adrenal support. So now I just want to talk about the amazing promos that are happening with Healy this month. So all of the editions from the Healy Holistic and above right now are 45% off, and anything above the Resonance is you get a free gold edition as well. So share with your friends and your family, and definitely take advantage of these amazing promos. It just keep having month after month. It just keeps getting better. So I'm pretty excited about this one this month. And then just some final other resources that we have. So I have a Telegram group. If you'd like to join that, then it's called Healy Wellness and Empowerment Group. But we also have corporate calls. We have Tech Tip Tuesday on Tuesdays. We have What's Up Wednesday, which happened earlier today. I think I have to adjust some of the times on here. Oh no, these ones are Pacific and Eastern. So, and then Healy for Beginners and Beyond, which happens on Thursday. And then Cassie and Chad and I have our Resonance Connection portal. So if you wanted to do a detox that incorporates food and detox products and frequency protocols that support those organ systems, we have a detox running. You can join at any time. Cassie has an amazing yoga library that's growing and wonderful and supportive for the quantum detox as well. And then Chad has so many amazing shamanic healing, advanced trainings, Reiki, and he even has his Reiki level 1 training coming out that will be happening within our portal as well. And so that is the end of the presentation. And if anybody has any questions or comments or wants to share maybe about their experience with adrenal fatigue. We didn't do our call yesterday. We will be doing it next week. And there seems to be a lot of calls happening on Tuesday. So we're going to be doing it. This Healy Wellness call happens every other Wednesday. So we are going to do, Chad and I are going to do the programs and modules on the alternate Wednesdays. So the first and third Wednesday of the month, right, Chad? I think that's what we agree on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are going to be switching to Wednesdays.
I actually have a question about the adrenal fatigue. So I quit coffee when I started your detox on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Do you think that had an effect on my adrenals and maybe why I possibly got really sick this weekend? Because I really wanted coffee bad. Like I was like a craving. I didn't know how bad I was addicted to it. And then Friday, like I would have stepped on a kitten to get coffee. Like I was that. Like I really wanted coffee. So and then I was running contentment because I'm like, oh my god, I feel like a drug. Like I feel like I'm addicted to drugs here. And so I think maybe that might have had something to do with maybe why I was feeling not the best this weekend. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it could be. I always sort of encourage like a gradual decrease of the caffeine. Going cold turkey can be intense. Like for me, I can't do it. So I just slowly decrease over maybe like a week or two. Another suggestion would be doing one coffee in the day and doing it bulletproof, if you're familiar with that. So then it has like the fats, or you could put even collagen in it, and then it sort of balances out because if you're experiencing any adrenal fatigue and then you're having caffeine, it's just exacerbating it. But then yes, of course, if you go cold turkey, and depending on a person's sensitivity, like I know some people that can just give up coffee and they don't have any side effects. For me, it's like coming off of crack. I get headaches, I'm super moody, I'm like irritable, and so that's why I do like a gentle decrease over a period of time. So
well, I went big, I guess. Go big or go home.
Go big or go home.
Yeah.
But you can definitely have detox symptoms from that, right?
Yeah, I think that's part of what was happening too. So that going through your explanations and going through your wonderful laid out video here today, I feel like it gave me some answers as to what was going on in my body this week. that was just a new awareness. So I love what we're doing here. I love what you're doing. This is just amazing. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay. Bonnie has her hand up. Actually, a couple of people have their hand up. So.
Yeah. So thanks, Andrea. That was lots. I was constantly doing screenshots. So I just joined the Resonance Connection this morning.
Awesome.
So I'm just thinking about, well, I thought, oh, the detox thing. But then you mentioned today that if you do, so I know without a doubt, my adrenal fatigue is like high, really, really high. I've been doing ashwagandha and other things, but it's just, I mean, I have had probably the most stressful year of my life, just in the last 6 months. And so what I want to ask is, if I do the adrenal support protocol, should I not be doing the detox? Because you mentioned detox is kind of a sort of a next phase kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's different approaches. I'm just saying, if somebody came at the approach of doing these addressing the adrenal fatigue, and they weren't having improvements, that then maybe it might be prudent to do a detox. But you could also just start with the detox, right? And that's it's going to support your adrenals as you go along. The only thing I might suggest first is, no, you could still follow the order. I was thinking of maybe just doing nervous system support initially for a week, or like in the detox, we start with hydration for the first week. And so I might space that out for like a 2-week period and do hydration and do nervous system support, and then rolling into the digestive detox.
Okay, so doing it really gradually. And then the other question I had was about the sleep thing. I mean, I know the Chinese medicine thing and the organs, and I'm kind of looking to see what's happening here, but every single night between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., I wake up and I can't go back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then I lay there, and then around 7 a.m., I start getting tired again. So it's just, I can't seem to break this cycle.
So usually, let me just grab my book here, because I have, let's see. So you're saying between 3 and 4 o'clock?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So between
an hour.
Yeah.
So,
So that's liver. It's liver between 3 and 5.
Mm.
And so, I mean, what you could do is wake up at that time. If you're awake, run a liver frequency.
Run liver. That's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, Lisa's asking if you've done the natural cycle.
You know, I have the natural cycle, and I have just never gotten into using it.
Yeah.
So it's been hard for me to stick with any new protocol at all, because I've been on the road running around so much, and yeah, I'm kind of settled. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she said it really straightened out her sleep.
Okay.
Thanks for that. But yeah, you could try the liver meridian at 3 a.m. if you wake up and run that one. I know too, like if I'm in a period where I'm waking up a lot in the middle of the night, extreme stress in jobs and sleep, I run that one, and it just like, it brings you right back down. It's super grounding, and then I'm able to fall asleep again. So that's the one that works for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Monique, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's lovely to be here. I see my mom's on the call too, which I love. Virginia. I have a question about when one is in perimenopause, anything you have in recommendation of that, because I know for sure you're going to go into, your adrenals are going to be feeling more stressed because your hormones are going to be going through changes. And so I just wanted to see if you had any specifics for that. And also when you talk about the natural, what you guys just talked about, I didn't know about this. So I was curious what you were referring to with Bonnie, the natural cycle. Is that a program?
The natural cycle was released by Nuno Nina back in the springtime, I think. So that's
I was traveling.
Yeah.
Okay.
and it has running different organ systems at different hours of the day. So it's very much based on the Chinese medicine of which organs are active at certain times of the day and balancing those out. But then
I can just go find that and look at what the recommendations were around that.
It was a separate module that you had to purchase.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. But for perimenopause, I mean, hormonal changes are going to be happening. So focusing more on especially if you have symptoms of hormonal imbalance, Then running the programs that support that, right? There's a hormonal balance in meridians, there's hormones and bioenergetic harmony, digital nutrition. There's actually a lot for hormones. So you can also use the Heal Advisor and search up. You could probably put in perimenopause. But yes, it'll affect your cortisol levels. And depending on too, because quite often if any kind of menopausal or perimenopausal or hormonal imbalance, your hormones will be out of balance. And quite often with adrenal fatigue, we see low DHEA levels. So even taking like a DHEA cream, you can use that, and then, or progesterone, you can use that. But in that kind of instance, it might be helpful to do like actual blood testing on hormone levels.
Yeah, for sure. The blood test.
To really understand where you're at.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Yeah, I was just definitely the liver one, by the way, Bonnie, is a great one. I've found I've even done that before going to bed. And it's just like I fall asleep and I have a great night's sleep doing it actually at like a 9 o'clock hour right before bedtime. So that's something I wanted to mention for Bonnie too, with waking up at 3 in the morning, is that preventative, doing it beforehand, supporting the liver before going to sleep. Seems to be really helpful. And I suggest that to different people. So thank you so much. And I appreciate this call a lot.
Awesome. Thank you. So Eva was asking if you can see adrenal fatigue in someone from their looks or dark circles under the eyes. Yes, you can see. I mean, it's not diagnosed in mainstream medicine, but there are presentations that are clear for adrenal fatigue. So as I said, morning fatigue, when you wake up and you don't feel rested and you're straight away feel like your battery is low in the morning, quite often that is an indication that your adrenals are low. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're in adrenal fatigue, but again, there's a spectrum, right? I think we're all in some form of adrenal fatigue at many levels at different points in our life. Dark circles, yes, that happens, or even seeing like a yellowish tinge. Usually that's a liver stagnation as well, which quite often goes with the adrenal fatigue. So the testing, how they do it is in naturopathy, not in mainstream medicine, but with testing is looking at, well, I mean, I like to get my clients to do hormone testing and to see because you want to make sure that their thyroid is in balance or what their cortisol levels are at. Also melatonin. So there's different hormones to look at, but you can do temperature testing because there'll be fluctuations of temperature as well in our basal rate. And then also cortisol testing. So really understanding, and so doing that over like a 3-month period to understand, like, are your cortisol levels going up and then down and then up and then down, which is really hard on our adrenal glands. And so really kind of find that balance between those. Dark circles and hair loss for me, Bonnie says, yeah, the hair loss is definitely, it's a clear sign of adrenal fatigue. So strengthening your adrenals and can help. And Bonnie, you said you had been taking the ashwagandha, but I mean, in this instance, there are what we would call stronger natural remedies that you can take, like a specific adrenal one that has more than just ashwagandha might be more helpful. I'm happy to give you some suggestions as well.
Thanks.
Eva, your hand is up. Did you? I can't tell now if it's just been on the whole time.
I couldn't figure out how to remove it. But Bonnie, you may try the Be Energetic too.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't done that, right? That's for adrenaline support too.
Right. Forgot about
Is that a Purium product?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's lots.
And also, Bonnie, maybe doing some energy work as well. That's what the shamans call the witching hour, between 3 and 4. So if there are any unanswered contracts in your information field that your body is residing with, but you're feeling the vibration of a contract, it's going to wake you up. And at different times of the night, waking up is different contracts might be asked to be cleared and removed when you get to that certain level. And what I'm noticing is that the Healy, when you work more with the Healy, you start to bring up these contracts now, because now we're going deep into what's called that non-physical place. So maybe doing some energy work with a practitioner that you trust to bring out those contracts and clear things that aren't good for your information field because you already worked in them. So it's clearing out the old record player and and just putting on brand new music, if that makes sense. So I didn't realize my camera was off. I apologize.
Love that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Chad. I was just
Yeah.
thinking,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Especially
there's
if you've
good
had a really hard year, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And the hour from 3 to 4 in shamanic terms, if that's when you're waking up, that is a lot of energetic depletion from your energy field. The chakra that's involved within that hour between 3 and 4, that's your solar plexus chakra. That is the part of you that says, I am giving out too much of my energy, so I need to wake up to make sure that I have enough energy to get through to the next day. So your body sets an alarm clock for you to get up at 3 o'clock, or whatever the case may be, based on the contracts that are being answered, whether it be 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock. So your body's saying, okay, Bonnie, we have to get up at 3 o'clock because I need energy tomorrow. And if you sleep at right now between 3 and 4, I'm not to be able to get through. So it's your body trying to figure out how to create the energy production that you need for the next day by actually doing the opposite effect by waking you up. This is all based on an energetic standpoint.
Oh.
That's good to know. And then Andrea, the thing also that you mentioned about, having stronger boundaries and setting boundaries, that's clearly because the energetic sort of connection that I'm feeling right now with the one family member, that's 3 o'clock would be right around the time that she would be waking up. And I know there's this sort of energetic shift in me, like, is she okay? Is she okay? Is she safe?
And maybe you have a contract with her. And 3 o'clock is when it's really active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing, you guys. It's great insight.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions?
To share on that too, because it's interesting to bring that up, that timing, the shamanic hour, and then also in yoga, it's considered the godly hour, which is kind of interesting, like dip into your practice at that point, because the world is still resting, and so there's more psychic space to do that kind of work, to do the clearing and the create new let go of old contracts, and really command that that shift, to really be clear and commanded. This is my body, this is my space. Say your name 3 times and talk to that energy and say, I'm no longer in this contract. I'm letting go. Thank you for all that you taught me. I really appreciate all that you've taught me. Thank you so much. And I'm releasing this contract now. And it's really good. But that's kind of interesting part of it too, with yoga, having it be called something quite light and bright, right? In an hour that you can release those old stagnant dense places. So I just wanted to put that in there.
Love it. I love all the different perspectives because it just gives us an opportunity to explore different things to really find what works for our own constitutions. Okay.
So Bonnie, if you're in our portal, there's a video under the shamanic healings called "Calling Your Energy Back." I would do that one today if you have a chance to watch a video. Get yourself in a nice, safe place where you can be alone, and really go into the heart space. Think from the heart. Allow the heart to have its own wants and needs while you do this, calling your energy back. That could be profound, and then see how you sleep after you do that.
I just want to thank you all for all the support.
Oh, we love you, Bonnie.
I feel like I've been carrying the world on my shoulders right now, just to have all this feedback. It's just I'm so grateful.
Love you. So good.
It's good to be back.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you back.
Yeah. Happy.
I mean, this is what I love about this community and our frequency families. This is so profound and just so supportive. It's been a really big blessing in my own life.
Yeah.
Have all of you. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll wrap it up for today then, unless anybody has any last questions. Always open to suggestions if there's things that you would like to learn about or topics that you'd like me to discuss from a naturopathic perspective, then please get in touch. And thank you all for joining. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank
So
you.
good. Thank
Hey,
you.
guys.
Thanks, God. Yeah. Good to see you, Izzy.
Thank you.